Tinubu's re-election campaign kicks off in North. This is speaking of the 2027 general elections. Nigerian Tribune, Saraki cautions Akpabio. Importance to pay more as shipping companies increase charges. Monetary recovers funding Nigeria's education loan. This is coming from EFCC. Over to the Punch newspaper. Petrol imports jump 105% to 15 trillion naira. U.S. Embassy to reschedule visa interviews. Saraki, Sarab tackle Akpabio over Natasha's suspension. The major headline reads, pro-Wike lawmakers give condition to meet Fubara. Finally, here we have this day. Fubara obeys Supreme Court order, invite 27 Rivers lawmakers for reconciliation meet. So, not to, take us further on the headlines, let's just delve into the analysis. And I'd like us to start with the river crisis. I mean, this is something that's been lingering for long. And I would like to say, correct me if I'm wrong, since, Fubara got into, power and since it became the governor of Rivers State, there's been this, he has been at loggerheads with Wike, that's the, the FCT minister, for some reasons or the other. And right now we are having the lawmakers with him at loggerheads, and many of them are for Wike. And I want you to run us through, briefly now. I don't want us to go deep, but briefly how this started, where we are now, and why is this necessary, and why is it that the governor, because the governor is the first citizen of every state, and why is it so difficult to put together a good should I say atmosphere in Rivers State?
Well, it's sheer contestation for power. It's not new, really. In Nigeria, where the God's power puts his God's son in power in most parts of the country, in most states. We had it in Edo State, where Shomole put Obaseki in power, even though many members of the APC were opposed to it. He used his muzzle to put Obaseki there. Obaseki was his advisor, but he was not strong. He wasn't a strong member of the party, even if he was a member at all. I remember also Namani, Chimaroke Namani, in old Enugu State, in Enugu State really. Between him and Mobolade. Mobolade was the godfather. He was one that paved the way for him to emerge as governor. Their own rifts started ever before Chimaroke was sworn into power. Then between Chimaroke and Sullivan Chime, who succeeded him, it was the same thing. No, they had their problem. So in many parts of the country, you have such problems. Currently, in Kaduna State, between El Rufai and Ubasan, no love lost. So in many parts of the country, you have predecessor and successor, godfather and godson. We have such problems here and there. So it's the same thing that we have in Rivers State. Wike, that's the Federal Capital Territory Minister, is a very strong political power in Rivers State. He holds the structure. He was a member of the PDP. He supported, because he contested for the presidential ticket of the party, and despite everything, he lost to Atiku Abubakar, and quite a number of people said no, he shouldn't have gone to the north again, he should have come to the south. And for that reason, he was able to have the G5, that's a group of 5, and all that. And you had people like Bode, Chief Bode George in Lagos, and supporting him. And Fayose, former governor of Ekiti State, supported him, and he continued, and because of that, he chose to teach PDP a lesson and chose to support Bola Tinubu when nobody could have been sure that Tinubu would win the election, he supported him. And he got the Rivers people to vote across party line for Bola Tinubu. So by the time he came, and he was rewarded with ministerial appointment for the Federal Capital Territory, that strengthened him somehow. He was able to keep his structure intact. And while his godson was in power as governor, he was holding the state assembly in his hand somehow. And that was an issue. The governor began to resent it, that he could not breathe. He was a minority even in his own executive. Most of the commissioners were nominated or dictated, whichever you like, by Wike. Minister Wike. He was one that. So, in the executive, he was a minority. In the legislature, he was a nobody. In the state, nobody, looked at his direction. So he felt, no, I cannot be, I can't continue like this for 4 years. And so it led to their quarrel, as it were.
The fallout?
And there was a fallout. And since then, we've had a kind of battle that I don't think we have seen before. Yes, we've seen seen the former law when Godwin Obaseki of Edo State chose, because he did not have majority in the House of Assembly, he chose to remove the roof. The roof of the House of Assembly, and said, yes, they are renovating it, and moved the House of Assembly to the government house. So he got the minority who supported him to be coming to meet at the government house. That was the worst we saw before now. Then now, Mr. Fubara decided to go for the worst. He pulled down the House of Assembly, personally supervised the tractors that pulled down the House of Assembly. Nobody could have believed such a thing was possible, just because he did not have the numbers. And his is worse because he has only about 3 or 4 members. And he was doing everything with 3-4 members when 27 are for Wike. It was incredible. He presented his budget, did everything, presented a new list of commissioners to that 3-member house, and was pretending that there is a House of Assembly. So the 27 members continued the struggle. He said the 27 members had defected, and that the Constitution says once you defect, you have lost your seat. The Constitution said yes, if you defect, you lose your seat, but who decides whether you have effectively defected? Who decides? Who decides that you lose your seat? Is it the governor? No. It's the court of law. And the court of law had not said so. So that is the issue as it is today. Now they are trying to, the Supreme Court has spoken, and that is where we are. The Supreme Court came up with a ruling that was a stinging rebuke of the governor, and said the State House of Assembly, as originally constituted, must go and start sitting, and that the governor should represent his budget to them. The Supreme Court did not rule on the issue of the commissioners, but it goes without saying too that all the major decisions that were taken by the old 3-member house are null and void. So the commissioners are holding office illegally until he represents their names to the properly constituted House of Assembly. So that's where we are. So today, that's yesterday now, he has invited the
lawmakers
for a meeting at the government house. I immediately I knew that something would happen, that they were not likely to go.
Yeah, they sort of refused. According to one of them, they said they don't get invitation from the social media platform, that Fubara should do the needful by inviting them the right way.
That's what they say. But that is, I agree with them, but that is just an excuse.
Of course.
They were not going to attend because they saw victory and they will not easily trade it off. They didn't know what the governor would be up to next. You understand? So they wanted to quickly seize this momentum and see what could be done. The only way this thing could be resolved, and it's going to be difficult, given where we are, the only way it could be resolved is for Mr. Fubara to find a way, one way or the other, to reconcile with Wike. Those lawmakers do not exist on their own. Do not be paid their salary for about 1.5 years. They'll be surviving. How are they surviving? They are not their own men. So unless you settle with their principal, they are not getting anywhere. They are not getting anywhere.
But speaking of settlements, do you think that will ever happen? Because the way it is going now is as though, you know, there's something we call ego. Do you think ego would also want to come to play in all of this?
Ego is already there. Ego will be there. But if the Supreme Court says that you have lost,
then you've lost.
Then you've lost. So in the humble pie, that's if Mr. Wike can be pacified. I don't know if it could be at this point. The only way to pacify him is to walk around what you did before and rejected. Get the president to call both of you together. If the president could call both of them together again, which he did before, and critical stakeholders in the Rivers project, including the leadership of the House of Assembly, no. If the president does, and they come up with another communique or memorandum of understanding or whatever, and they choose to implement it to the letter, yes, maybe, irrespective of the fact that the government will certainly hold the shorter end of the stick. There's no doubt about that. He has lost, so he must agree. He must agree. But for him to tenuously hold on to that office, he must be ready to really acknowledge his position as the weaker part of that equation.